Hiya, it's Peter Gordeno here from Depeche Mode. I'm here in beautiful Eden Arena in Prague, where we're playing tonight. We have a little concert tonight. So I just thought I'd show you a little bit of what goes on. We're just here to do a little sound check. And this is our stage. Obviously, we're a very electronic band, so we have sometimes 3 keyboard players playing. Martin Gore, when he's not playing guitar over there, will be sitting here doing his thing, playing his keyboards. We use these Roland controllers because they're incredibly reliable. We've used them for years. So this will be Martin's little station, and we can walk over there if you fancy.
This is not mine, honestly.
That's not his. And up here, this is where the mighty Andrew Fletcher stands. So let's go and have a look. Again, Roland controllers. Our programmer over there is controlling a lot of what he's controlling. And same thing. And then my house is over here. Right, so here we are on my little station here. So I take care of most of the piano-y stuff, and which is very important for me to have a really nice hammer action. So one of the big highlights of the shows are the acoustic songs that I do with Martin Gore. And a lot of that involves a lot of sort of interpretation and feel, so really enjoy that. So one of the great things about having this excellent RD-2000 for me is to be able to sort of play the songs with Martin with a really nice action, and also a lot of the electronic stuff, which I use it, as a controller as well. So it's not just the pianos. We use it to trigger various things. As we set up splits all over the place to do some of the songs with the more electronic stuff. Yeah, so we're quite early in the tour. We've just done 8 shows and we've got another 150 to go. So I'm still kind of messing around with my favourite sounds in there. I like them all, to be honest, but just actually the basic stage pianos sometimes wind a little bit of the top off just to get a bit of a slightly more mellow thing. Or I've been messing around with some of the more concert grands, which I like. I think I'll eventually decide on one by the Madison Square Garden show or something. But yeah, I'm still not quite sure what my favourite is, but the feel is beautiful. I love playing it, and it's kind of important to have that interaction with Martin when we're doing those songs. So yeah, we're just about to play in a few hours in Prague, mainly promoting the new record, the Spirit album, which was an exciting project for me, especially because it's the first time I've got involved in the writing on the record, which I did with Christian Eigner, and obviously with Dave Garn. So a lot of the stuff that me and Christian did, we wrote a lot of the music together at his place in Vienna. Sort of worked with Dave remotely in New York, where he was writing lyrics, and we'd sort of chuck stuff back and forth, and came up with some really good things. And obviously Martin's writing his stuff on in his place in Santa Barbara. Yeah, so we're playing, I think it's varies between 5 and 6 songs from the new album. Obviously, excitingly for me, it involves 2 of the songs that I wrote, Cover Me and Poison Heart. Cover Me seems to be going down really well. It's got some really good visuals for it, and it's just sort of really epic sort of song. And the crowd, it's got a great sort of outro that the crowd go crazy for. It just really goes mental. Then at the end of the set, obviously, we have to get into the really big anthems. Enjoy the Silence, obviously. Personal Jesus and the big tunes, which are always really exciting because by that time the crowd are absolutely on fire and we can really rock out at the end. But the build for the set is great. It just starts and it just slowly builds over a couple of hours, and by the end of it, it's just a massive party. So really enjoying it. Yeah. So obviously, as I'm sure you're aware, we're a fairly electronic outfit. Martin plays a lot of guitar, but there's certain songs where there's 3 of us all playing keyboards, and because a lot of these records were made in the sort of 80s and 90s, the technology was obviously different. A lot of the original analog synths, I mean, it's clearly not practical to start bringing out all of that stuff. So there's a certain amount of recreation of those sounds we have to do, which we do in various ways. I mean, sometimes we go back and we sample original sounds because they're so key to an arrangement that it just seems like the most sensible way to do it. And other times we might update a few things that if they're starting to sound a little bit tired, or there's some of the arrangements we kind of feel when we're rehearsing, we kind of feel like, oh, this feels like it stood the test of time, so we'll stick fairly faithful to the original. Whereas some of the songs you feel like this maybe sounds a little bit too of its time, and it would be nice to sort of just update it a bit. So then we just get into messing about over our rehearsal period and trying to recreate the sounds, and it sort of comes together fairly organically over 5 or 6 weeks, and just let's try this for a bit, and it's not quite sitting, let's try it again, and eventually we end up with hopefully the show that we want to put on. But yeah, it can be a challenge going back to sounds that were created by totally different technology and trying to sort of make them again and make them authentic and feel like the right thing. But we've got a good team, so I think we're in good shape. So yeah, so during in my studio in London, and also Christian, who's our drummer, and we did a lot of writing together for the record. We had a lot of great gear, a lot of the great Roland synths, of the old classic gear, plus some of the new, the JDXA and the System 8, and obviously the RD-2000, which I've brought out on the road primarily for its piano sounds, but obviously for its versatility as a controller as well. With writing this sort of stuff, the inspiration can come from anywhere. So I'm a very average guitar player, so sometimes I'll pick up a guitar and scratch something average out, but I'm a much better keyboard player, so I'm more likely to go to one of those instruments and find some inspiration from a sound. I really like the sort of analog stroke digital combination in the JDXA, which is a great thing, just to find those inspirations, a little bit of edge and a little bit of that old, and the System 8, just recreating those great Roland moments of yesteryear with the Jupiters and everything is amazing. I was kind of brought up on all that stuff, so I'm kind of a bit of a sucker for those things. Getting my first Juno 6 when I was 17 was like, a fairly key moment in my musical development. It's great. It has a sort of combination, a little bit of nostalgia, but also just this sort of slightly modern edge, which I love. And it's great. It was very inspirational in the studio, and can't wait to get back to them, really. Next time we get a break, I'll be back in there. We'll start working on some new material. Yeah, great toys, great stuff to play with. So yeah, right now we're only about 8 or 9 shows in. I think it's 9 out of about, I don't really want to think about the whole number at the moment because it seems too daunting, but I think it's going to be about 130 shows. Yeah, it's daunting, but we're by and large a very friendly bunch. There's a very sort of family atmosphere which is why I love working with this lot. I mean, everyone's very sort of friendly. We have our little rows, which is inevitable, but they're always fixed. You know, everything just sort of works itself out. I mean, you know, we spend an awful lot of time together. It's all fun. It's like going out with your mates around the world on a private plane, playing nice rock shows. So there are worse jobs than this.
Hi, I'm Dan. We're here in Prague at the Eden Arena, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the Depeche Mode keyboard setup. We have 3 keyboard players on stage. We have Martin Gore, Peter and Fletch, and essentially Martin and Fletch play the A800 Pro controller keyboards, which play main stage and a number of different VST plugins off stage. So on stage, Peter's rig is the most complex. Obviously, Fletcher and Martin are just controller keyboards. We have the RD-2000, which is Peter's main controller keyboard, but also a lot of sounds come directly from that board. Most importantly, probably the piano sounds that he does on the solo songs with Martin, and the string sounds as well on another song, which is kind of key part of the general sound on that song. So I've done a few tours with Roland keyboards now, and they are incredibly reliable, but also what keeps us going back to them is the fact that they are so nice to play. There's a really good key beds on them. They feel great. The pianos feel very responsive. They feel like, well, the closest thing we've found to a real piano, and the synths are, you know, they're solid and they're reliable, and that's what we need them to be when we're doing a show, you know, in a stadium.